We have some breaking news out of Pittsburgh. The man accused in the shooting at the synagogue in Pittsburgh is pleading not guilty, and he also wants a jury trial. You can see he's facing a 44 count. So our David Begnaud has been following this story for us. He's outside of the courtroom. So, David, what's the latest? What's going on?
Well, look, it'd be shocking if he pleaded guilty, so this was expected. I want to read you some color from inside of the courtroom from one of my colleagues, and this is what she wrote. Bowers walked in, nodding toward the crowd, making eye contact with observers and looking around confidently. He was handcuffed, not in a wheelchair, and had a bandaged elbow that was bleeding. Bowers responded loudly and confidently to the judge and the prosecutors. He pursed his lips and his brow was slightly furrowed as he listened to the counts. Now remember, this is happening in federal court. Prosecutors have already said they intend to seek the death penalty against this man. He is being held without bail in a federal detention facility here, and he's been brought to the court and is about to be transported from the court under very heavy security. He could have pleaded guilty. Obviously, he was counseled probably to, take his chances. It's notable that he asked for a jury trial in this case. I sent out a tweet right before going live on CBSN, and even though, we all live in a country where you are entitled to plead whatever you want and you're entitled to a jury trial, it's interesting some of the tweets that I'm getting from people who say, I know he's entitled to it, but I hate that he gets the right to have it.
David, while we have you here, we know that there are several more funerals taking place today, and we also know that I think the last person that will be buried is 97-year-old Rose Mallinger. What are you hearing from the families as they bury their loved ones?
Very, very little. And you have to know, and you'll understand, we've been so respectful. Yesterday, in fact, we did an interview with a rabbi after one of the services, and I walked up to that funeral home, and there were cameras across the street, and the media has been tremendously respectful, but the families have been so gracious, understanding that we have a job to do, and we interviewed the rabbi outside of one of the funerals. But we haven't bombarded the families. I haven't even called one single family. My colleagues have, because of course, as the story is so prominent in the news, we want to give them a chance to speak. But the families, Vlad, really have not been talking. There have been some statements that have been released here and there. Rose, for example, her family wanted to, it was a family friend who came up to me at the synagogue, and she said, listen, her daughter is really somewhat distraught over the fact that her mother is being called a Nazi, I'm sorry, a Holocaust survivor, and in fact she was not a Holocaust survivor, and so we want to kind of clear that. We want to clear that up. And I said, yes, ma'am, we'll definitely provide the accurate information. So families have been releasing little statements, but nobody's been ready to sit down and go on camera, as you understand.
A quick question for you in regards to the alleged gunman here. What's happening next with the court case? When's his next appearance?
I'm not sure, actually. My colleague was in the courtroom. I don't know when the next appearance is going to be. Gilad, do we know when the next appearance is going to be in court? I'll get you that information. But, most notably, and what happens quite quickly is you get the first appearance, and then you have the appearance of whether you plead guilty or not guilty. And now the process begins of him meeting his new attorneys, and we go through. And remember, this could take several months, up to a year, possibly before, before any kind of verdict is handed down.
All right. David Begnaud, thanks a lot.
You bet.
And we're